At the G20 summit in St. Petersburg tomorrow, will the Prime Minister do everything he can to get other countries to match the UK's important aid commitment to alleviate the humanitarian emergency in Syria, given that we know that almost one-third of Syrian families have been forced to flee their homes, and yet the UN has less than half the resources that it needs?
It's very important at the G20 to make a number of points clear. Our absolute revulsion at the use of chemical weapons, our desire for a peace process, but I think above all getting donor countries together and making sure we do everything we can, that they live up to their responsibilities, and we do everything we can to help the Syrian people in their hour of need.
Mr. Speaker, the civil war in Syria and the refugee crisis are having profound consequences not just in that country, but across the Middle East, specifically in Jordan, Turkey, Iraq, and especially in Lebanon, where the population is up by 25% since the civil war began. What specific support, beyond the welcome humanitarian assistance that his government is providing, can Britain give to these countries to help them deal with the burden on their infrastructure, their economies, and their wider societies?
We have well-funded embassies, well-funded diplomatic networks, very close relations with Lebanon, with Jordan, and obviously a close relationship with the Turks as well. We're doing everything we can to help and advise them. We're well placed to, because we're spending serious money on the humanitarian aid programmes.
And I wanted then to come on to the issue that the Prime Minister raised, which is getting the talks going between the warring parties. The Opposition Syrian National Council is meeting, I believe, the Foreign Secretary in the next couple of days. Can the Prime Minister tell us what work he is doing with them, with the Syrian National Council, to make those talks in Geneva happen?
The work we're doing with the Syrian National Council is really twofold. One is that we want to support those elements of the Syrian opposition that support a pluralistic, democratic and free Syria. That is what our engagement with them has been all about. But we go further than that because we recognise that the so-called rebels who back those views also deserve our support in terms of training and assistance and advice, because the truth is this: we won't get a peace process in Syria unless President Assad realises that actually his regime is under some sort of pressure, some sort of threat, from not just from the rebels, but from the millions of Syrians who we must be standing up for, who want democracy, who want freedom, who want a better future for themselves and their children. It is them whose side we should be truly on.